Hi, third grade. Detectives in togas. We're getting to the end. Today we'll do chapter 20, and tomorrow I'll do 21 and 22, and we'll be done. Okay, so Friday we will be finished. This is chapter 20, surprises. Okay, so remember they're trying to unfold the rest of the mystery. The boys stared incredulously at Lukos. "So you don't believe me?" Lukos asked with a dangerous edge to his voice. "But the chain belongs to Tellus," Mucius managed to stammer. "No," Lukos screamed. "The chain and the cloak belong to me. Tellus frequently visits me. I lent them the cloak." "Tellus sent the courier to the newspaper," Julius murmured. "He did on my suggestion," Lukos said. "Tellus has nothing to do with the crime. You've been on the wrong track." He went to the table and hastily rummaged over the heap of papers. "Do you recognize that?" he asked, showing them a writing tablet. "This is Rufus's tablet. I'll tell you just how I copied his handwriting. I slit through the letters, pressed the tablet against the wall of the temple, and painted over it with red paint. There, can you see it?" He held it up in front of the lantern. Showing up in thin, illuminated letters on the writing tablet were the words, "Caius is a dumbbell." The method by which the forging had been done was just as the boys had guessed. "I also assaulted your teacher and stole the writing tablet from him," Lukos went on, shouting hoarsely. "Here are his books and pictures." He tossed several rolls of parchment down at their feet. "Do you believe me now?" The boys believed him. Lukos was also a head taller than Xantippus. "Why have you done this?" Mucius cried out. "Why are you so bent on hurting Rufus?" "He discovered my greatest secret," Lukos said sternly. "He must die." Filled with horror, the boys looked desperately around for a way to escape. But again, Lukos seemed to guess their thoughts. "Don't think you can run off to the prefect and repeat all this," he said mockingly. "Oh no, my dears. Tomorrow morning, my ship leaves for Ostia, and I shall sail back to my native land where I can be perfectly safe." He laughed scornfully. "And you will stay right here in this vault. You will never manage to open the doors. I alone know the secret mechanism." He took the sword from the table. With one powerful blow, cut through the cords running across the floor. "There, now you can't get out at all. You can make all the racket you please. These walls are thick. No one lives back here, and nobody ever passes. If you're lucky, you'll be found. If not, well, that's your hard luck." And he laughed again maliciously. Inwardly, Mucius was rejoicing. Lukos had not thought of the ladder leading to the roof. From there, he could call for help. But he rejoiced too soon. Lukos considered for a moment. "No, you had better be locked up in the cellar," he said. He stopped and lifted a heavy wooden trapdoor in the floor. Beneath yawned a black opening, and the boys saw slippery stone steps leading down into the dark depths. "Come on, get down there," Lukos howled, "or I'll kill all of you." Surprisingly, Mucius was the first to obey. He walked slowly toward the cellar steps. To reach them, he had to pass close to Lukos. Suddenly, he twisted around, gripped Lukos by the arm with one hand, and with the other tried to wrench the sword away from him. Lukos was taken by surprise for a moment. Then he defended himself wildly, but Mucius held on, knowing his life was now at stake. "Help!" he roared. The others awoke from their numbed daze and fell upon Lukos at once. Like a pack of wild cats, they gripped his arms and legs and tried to drag him down to the ground. Lukos swayed back and forth. He succeeded in freeing one arm and struck Caius in the face with his clenched fist. Caius went down, but was instantly on his feet and fighting mad. He seized the heavy stool with both hands and brought it down with all his might on the back of Lukos's head. Lukos fell forward on his face and lay motionless, with arms outstretched. The boys were pale and breathing heavily. "Bravo, Caius," Mucius said, gasping for air. Caius was still standing with the stool in his hands. His nose was bleeding, and his eyes were ablaze with fury. Shall I give him another? He breathed. I think he's dead, Mucius said. That was more than Caius had bargained for. Dead, he stammered. Dead, Flavius repeated, shuddering. Come on, we got to get out, Mucius urged them. Get out, the others asked. How can we? The ladder, Mucius explained. We'll climb up on the roof and call for help. He snatched up the lantern and ran into the long corridor which led to the front entrance. The others trotted after him. The ladder stood in a niche beside the front door. But by the dim glow of the lantern, the boys could see 10 or 12 rungs. The rest of the ladder was lost in the dim shadows above. That's pretty steep, Flavius murmured. Don't worry, I've been up on top already, Mucius encouraged him and began climbing. The others followed close at his heels. But when they had reached about the middle, the foot of the ladder suddenly slipped backwards and the top slid down the wall and rapidly increased speed. Desperately, the boys clung to the rungs. Luckily, the bottom struck the opposite wall of the corridor and the ladder came to a stop. The boys climbed back as far as they could and then jumped down to the floor. Boy, that might have turned out badly, Publius said with relief. He tried to set the ladder up again, but it was jammed so tightly between the two walls that they could not budge it. After struggling desperately with it for a long time, they gave up. They shook the door, drummed their fists against it, but here, too, their efforts were in vain. This is useless, Mucius said. Remember, there's still another door behind this one. No one can hear us. They hurried back to the vaulted room and hammered against the rear door with every object they could pick up. They could not get at the shutters because of the iron bars over the windows. Caius and Publius tugged wildly at the ends of the cords which Leucos had severed, but the door did not move. Wait, Antonius said suddenly. Remember, Leucos spoke of another door in there where Tellus went out? He pointed to the curtain in front of the niche. They dashed into the chamber and stopped in amazement. 4 bare stone walls confronted them. There was neither door nor window. The candle on the table had burned down to almost nothing and was sputtering its last gasps. How could Tellus have gone out? Mucius said slowly. Maybe there's a secret door, Julius said, and he began tapping the walls. But as he approached a dark corner, he started back in fright. A fat toad was squatting on the floor, staring fixedly at him. That's Tellus, Antonius cried. Leucos changed him to a toad. The others backed away slowly, throwing suspicious glances at the toad. Leucos said himself that he can't cast spells, Flavius whispered. He only said that so we wouldn't know Tellus is a toad, Antonius said. After all, it's a terrible crime to change anyone into a toad. They returned to the vaulted room and slumped down discouraged onto the floor, all in a row. They were tired and frightened, and their bare feet felt like lumps of ice. Leucos still lay motionless beside the cellar trap door, which had fallen shut during their scuffle. The mysterious disappearance of Tellus made their skin crawl. None of them quite believed Tellus had been changed into a toad, but still he seemed to have vanished into thin air. The lantern Mucius had placed on the table was growing steadily dimmer. Soon we'll be sitting in the dark, Mucius said, sighing. He drew up his knees and wrapped his cold feet in his toga. Flavius, sitting at the end of their row, leaned forward and asked nervously, how long will we have to wait until someone finds us? Until we starve to death, Caius growled. It takes a while to starve, Julius said. So much the worse, said Publius with a short laugh. People can live for years on bread and water, Antonius said. My father says that prisoners of war are given only bread and water, and they have to work besides. If only we had bread and water, Caius said. I could eat 10 loaves of bread right now. They say thirst is worse than hunger, Flavius whimpered. Stop that, Mucius snapped at them. Rufus has had nothing to eat for 3 days, and he's still alive. But he won't be for long, Publius said. Julius regarded Leucos thoughtfully. I should like to I'd like to know what that secret of which Rufus discovered, he said. I do think it had something to do with the red wolf in sheep's clothing. Rufus must have been delirious when he said that, Publius suggested. That's right, Antonius agreed. People say all kinds of things when they're starving to death. We once had a slave, an old man from Greece, who broke a bowl and was put into chains. He was given nothing to eat. I visited him and tried to cheer him up. He was so pleased, he told me a funny story. The earth isn't flat, he said. It's round as a ball, and it turns around the sun. I brought him food on the slide because I was sorry for him. Did you hear what he just said? He has a strange ring on his finger, said Julius, who was still staring at Lukos. Antonius crawled closer to Lukos and then cried out in astonishment. That's Tellus's seal ring. I saw it the ring this afternoon on Tellus's finger. That's odd, Julius murmured. He must have stolen it from Tellus before he changed him into a toad, Antonius said. What does a toad need a ring for? He must have thought. And look here, Antonius exclaimed. See what Lukos has on his feet? The boy stooped forward curiously. The black cloak with the silver stars had slipped up, and they could see that Lukos was wearing peculiar shoes with extremely high wooden soles. Those are cothurns, Julius said. Actors wear them on stage. So that's why he walked in that funny way, Mucius muttered to himself. But why is he wearing them? Flavius asked. Aha! Mucius exclaimed in sudden excitement, leaping to his feet. Alarmed, the others jumped up also. What is it? They cried. What dumbbells we are, Mucius groaned. What a couple of dumbbells! What complete dumbbells, sorry. Now I know who the red wolf is. Who? The others demanded in feverish excitement. Lukos, Mucius brought out the word like a curse. Lukos is the Greek word for wolf. Don't you remember the last list of Greek words we learned? Of course, Antonius seconded him. Ho, Lukos, the wolf. The others repeated in a chorus. But Lukos isn't red, Caius pondered. Not Lukos, Mucius said, but remember the sign outside the door. The word Lukos is painted in bright red letters. All we had to do was to look across the street, and we could have realized at once what Rufus meant. Naturally, he couldn't have known we would be so stupid. Even Xanthipus was stupid. Ho, Lukos, the wolf, the others repeated, staring wide-eyed at the lifeless Lukos. But what about the sheep's clothing, Publius said. There, Mucius said, pointing to Lukos' tangled, dirty yellow hair. That looks like sheep's wool. He stooped forward and gripped Lukos by the hair. What are you doing? The others exclaimed. We are supposed to tear the sheep's clothing off of him. You'll see in a minute, Mucius said with a grim resolution. But you can't pull a dead man by his hair, Flavius protested in horror. I don't care, Mucius growled, and he pulled with all his strength. Suddenly something gave, and he was holding a wig in his hand. Underneath it appeared a bald pate with a large scar across it. Tellus! The other boys shouted, incredulous. I suspected it, Mucius murmured, but he was really as surprised as the others. Ow! Did you think that was so? Lots of the kids sometimes guessed that. All right, I want you to write 3 really good sentences about that exciting chapter. And then tomorrow we will read 21 and 22 and finish the book. Okay? Bye-bye.